Hey y'all, it's your girl Ashley L of I'm the Mama podcast, where we discuss the ins, the outs, and everything in between of being a mom. So excited for you joining me today, and I hope that you are having an amazing day. It's been a great day for me. Work was smooth, was sitting in quite a few meetings and things like that, was able to really engage with the clients, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing how God works. And I'm just really seeing myself be able to blossom when it comes to my job, as well as positioning myself in an amazing department that allows me to be able to blossom. But that's not what we're here about. So before we begin with today's topic, I got to give my shout out. And today, I actually want to give a shout out to my hubby. All right. Now, we both, I feel, have an amazing balance when it comes to our son. Like, he takes care of our son in the mornings because we have different work schedules. So he takes care of him in the mornings, gets him together, preparation, all of that is taken care of, right? And then in regards to myself, I actually handle him more so in the evenings and at night because, again, my husband gets off work at a later time than I do. And so personally, I just think it's very beautiful just watching them be able to spend time together. The fact that my son is able to balance us, having that quality time with both of us independently and individually, but then also he is able to have those times where we are all together, sharing the moments, cherishing the moments, and enjoying the moment together as well. So I love it. I love it. But of course, his bond with his daddy is going to be different than the one that he has with his mama. Because like with dad, like he's more playful, they have a lot more fun, a lot more throwing up, like as far as throwing him in the air and that rough play and all that. With mama, we sitting here reading a book. We're sitting here, learning new words. We're cuddling, things like that. And so it is a different dynamic as far as the relationships between the two. But I think it's beautiful, the fact that he has a balance of both. And so just watching their bond grow, I'm very appreciative. Even when I need self-care time, hubby's just there to be able to step in. And again, I'm just very appreciative. So I want to give him a shout out and tell him thank you. But in regards to bonding, because that's something that I just spoke about, that both my husband and I share a phenomenal relationship with our son. And I want to touch on the fact that I've heard people say it, and I've indirectly been told of a such thing as being too attached to your little one. Like, what is that? What is being too attached to your little one? What are your thoughts? I ask that you drop in the comments what your thoughts are if you hear, or if someone even told you that you are too attached to your little one. All right. Now, I've even had people tell me when my son was younger that, Ashley, you got to loosen up, girl. You got to let go a little bit. And again, like, what does that mean? I'm very confused as to what that means. I still, even at this moment, I don't have an answer to this. But I have taken time just to, especially during that time when it was stated, I took some time to like self-reflect and really just kind of question myself, like, am I too attached to my son? Is there a such thing as being too attached to your little one? So, that's something that I'm still, battling with to kind of figure out if that's such a thing. But to me, a bond, if someone has a closer bond to their child than what you do, then yes, you may consider it being too attached. But to me, a bond can be different. Not only can it be different based off of, each parenting, each household, but also it can be different based off of each child. Like if you have multiple children, you may have a different bond with each and every one of them. And to me, that's just the beauty of it. But again, is there a such thing as too much, like being too attached or having too much of a bond with your child? So y'all know me. Your girl always stays, researching stuff. I'm very inquisitive. I love to learn new things. I love to take the time to research and see what others are stating and things like that. So I did take out the time just to research to see, like, are there other people that are experiencing this as well? Is this a such thing? And so upon my research, according to, I actually went to healthline.com, and there is something that is called a codependent parent. Now, I'm going to give you the definition of what, healthline.com place for codependent parent. Okay. So what they stated is a codependent parent is one who has an unhealthy attachment to their child and tries to exert excess control over the child's life because of that attachment. I'm going to go a step further. It says codependency can be found in the full range of parental relationships. A codependent father may rely on his daughter or son to keep him mentally stable and emotionally happy. And then again, as another example, a codependent mother may rely on her son or daughter to take responsibility for her physical well-being. I had to sit there and ponder on that because, for one, not knocking anybody, but to me, that's very manipulative. The codependent parent and definition that's being provided. To me, that's not the same as a bond. Now, possibly, you had this bond and then it continued and transpired into the codependent parent. But to me, these are two separate things. But that's what came across as I continued to look at, in regards to being too attached and things like that. That's what came up. So to me, this was very interesting. And then I do agree that, of course, with everything, too much of something can actually be unhealthy. But, a parent who just takes the time and really just enjoys being around their child, who understands that, time moves very, very fast. Like, I cannot believe that our son is 17 months already. I feel like he was just an infant and we were dealing with, changing diapers and trying to sleep at night. And then also, parents who just enjoy and embrace and just cherish, what they have and be able to live in the moment. Like, to me, there is nothing wrong with that at all. Again, not every parent has the same relationship with their child, but for those that do enjoy those type of moments, and try to maybe take every single moment that they can, because we have work that we're trying to balance. We have, if you're married or in a relationship, you have that you're trying to balance. You have other relationships that you're trying to balance with family, extended family, and things like that. So yes, in this case, as well as you're nurturing all of those other things, you put in time and effort for work, you put in time and effort for your marriage, then yes, you put in time and effort for your child as well. And in that, a bond is what typically is what's going to be created. All right. So again, this is just my take. I'm always going to say that this is I'm the Mama podcast, where I express my experience or my feelings, but yours may be totally different. So again, I welcome you to drop in the comments how you're feeling, what your take is on this specific topic. If you feel like there is a such thing as too much, and if you've ever, again, experienced it yourself. Now, what I do believe is that we as people, we should definitely watch our words as well as the categories that we try to place people in. The reason I say this is because, again, as soon as I was told that a few times, um, you know, it just made me really try to sit back and kind of think about my relationship with my son, kind of question myself, even though I was enjoying every single moment and everything that I was doing. And so I feel like, again, when we are on the other side, we just really need to, and this is just life in general. We should definitely just kind of watch the words and the categories that we're speaking amongst people, because you never know, what they're going through, how they're feeling, and how they feel about that situation. Now, regarding my situation, again, when my son was younger, one thing about, during the pandemic is, I just chose not to leave the house. I was comfortable being at home. I felt protected with being at home. I felt comfortable in that we were protecting him as well, with the experience and the scare of COVID during that time. And so, in addition to that, a little back history of me, I actually used to also be a babysitter. At a very young age, I started babysitting. I actually did that for a while. My parents, with their acquaintances and their friends, they needed to have a date night, go to an event, go out of town, whatever. Like, I would watch their kids. And then we also had some neighbors that I watched their kids very often. So to me, like, there was already a lot that I knew in regards to taking care of a child, taking care of an infant, things like that. And so, when it came to transitioning into motherhood, I kind of feel like I kind of knew the ropes a little bit. I didn't know everything. And even now, I don't know everything, but I feel like I knew those ropes pretty well, based off of my experience. Now, I will say, when it comes to those sleepless nights, like, I don't think anyone will ever, I repeat, ever be prepared for that. Ever. Again, no matter how many kids you have, I don't think you'll ever be prepared for that. It's just something that comes along with it. But yeah, in regards to the other things, like changing diapers and, different things that kids are interested in, I felt like I had a good handle on those things. But again, because of those two, of me being comfortable at home, as well as feeling protected at home with COVID, to others, I feel like that made it seem like I was too attached to my son, because I didn't want to take him out. I didn't want to take him places. And so to me, that moment probably seemed like, oh, Ashley's trying to keep her son to herself. She's trying to keep him close by. She don't want to have nobody else around him. She don't want to share him, when in fact that wasn't it at all. Like, I'm sure if I had my son pre-COVID, things would be a lot different. But even in regards to the dynamic of the world itself, it's changed. Like, even at work today, that's one thing we talked about when it comes to the insight in the working atmosphere. Like, when your headquarters is your home and you don't have to go anywhere, it's totally different from when you had to report to work every single day. So again, I go back to, we have to be careful and cognizant of what we're saying to others, because you never know how they're feeling, what they're going through, and the effects of your comments, of what that will make towards them. And so again, in this specific case, with COVID, I just wasn't comfortable at that time. Now I'm definitely lightening up more, and we're starting to do more and things like that. But again, at that time, it wasn't something I was comfortable with, right? So realistically, again, we have to consider the fact, this is another big thing, that as mothers, we have carried this child from anywhere between, 8 to 9 months, maybe even a little bit longer than that. So you have to keep in mind that bond in most cases actually begins there in the womb. It's not something that, oh, the baby's here and then the bond is created. No, for most, definitely for me, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, that bond started as soon as I got pregnant. And as the time progressed, and as our son continued to grow in my womb, that bond became even closer. I would put some headsets on my stomach to let him jam to the music that I was listening to. I would read to him. I would pray to him. I would love to feel him kicking, feeling him jumping and little flutters here and there. So the bond started way before he actually came here on the earth and was actually delivered. So again, we have to be realistic with that. Not saying that dads won't have the same bond, because they definitely can. And then just everyone else in general, I just feel like with mothers, that bond just starts a little bit earlier. So to me, like when it comes to bonding, and I'm removing the word to attach and filling it in with the word bonding, because that's to me what it is. But when it comes to bonding, to me, it's such an intricate part when you have a child. Like it pretty much sets the tone for the relationship of how it's going to be. Now, again, at an early age, your child is going to be very aware of the relationships that's being built, and their emotions and feelings towards a person. So, like, for instance, for us, and I know a lot of, I've heard of in my friend circle, quite a few moms have gone through this as well, where in the beginning, especially with being a nursing mom, you always have the baby. You are always bonding with the baby. And so that does give less time to the father or to the significant other or to others in general, because that baby needs you. That baby needs you for nourishment. That baby needs you to feel comfortable. And but I still agree that skin to skin, regardless of who it's from, does allow for that connection to take place. But again, that the bonding is just so intricate, because the child knows, as an infant, they know what's going on during that time. But in the same way, like I mentioned earlier, with me and my husband, that can change. So now I'm no longer nursing. My husband and our son have an amazing relationship where they're doing more together, because guess what? He doesn't need mommy as much anymore. He can go ahead and go to daddy. And when I tell you, this boy is yelling daddy all day, wondering where his daddy is when he's not around, I love it. Because again, I had that moment. Him and his dad are having that moment. And as things continue to progress, may change again. But it's just beautiful when you see it from both ends. Now, again, this isn't to knock anyone that is a single parent. The biggest thing that I'm stating is to make sure that if you can, it's very important to have that bond with your child. Okay. And so, on the opposite spectrum, so we just talked about being too attached. That's going to be on the far right. We're going to consider that the far right. Okay. Now, on the opposite side of that, being the far left, I've heard some stories of some parents who are unable to bond with their child. I even researched and saw a lot of different articles and, parents asking me, how do I bond with my child, and recommendations on how to bond with your child and how to get a closer relationship with your infant and things like that. So to me, it is sad to hear, but it is a real thing. Not everyone is blessed to be able to immediately have that instant bonding. It takes time for some, and that's okay. So the thing is, again, a balance. Do you want to be on the far right, or do you want to be on the far left? You'll probably say, I don't want to be either. So just having a balance. So even in regards to, the parents or anyone who's experienced not being able to really bond in the beginning with their child. And it doesn't even just start then. I've heard, and I know kids become teenagers and that bond kind of changes. I mean, it's just something that's a part of the cycle, a part of life. Your bond will constantly change. You'll have to find new ways to keep that bond going and incorporate new things, just again to keep it going with your child, because they're going to continue to change. And so again, they're going to be expecting different things from you as their parent. But then I've also heard that, sometimes when people have multiple children, you know, sometimes you can unintentionally have a closer bond with one of your children. And so again, when thinking about that, it's like, obviously, as parents, you want to be fair and have the same bond, but realistically, in some cases, out of multiple children, you may have one that you just have a closer bond with. And I've seen that in some cases as well. And so you do the best that you can, but the biggest thing is just letting your child know and make sure that they feel appreciated, feel that you love them. That's most important. Okay. And so, again, like I mentioned, no one wants to be on the far left of the spectrum. Nobody wants to be on the far right of the spectrum. But making sure that you are having a healthy balance with your child, balance with your relationship, your marriage, your work, and anything else that you may be involved in, just having a healthy balance is going to be key amongst it all. So, here I do want to provide a few recommendations. I did check out FamilyServiceNews.com, and they had some recommendations on how to have a healthy balance with your little one. And so, those recommendations, first one is going to be show your love. You heard me say show your love. Okay. Also, say I love you often. Also, set boundaries, rules, and consequences. Again, incorporating that definitely helps balance things out. Because if they're always thinking that, I'm never getting punished, I'm never doing anything, you may be a little bit more on the right side. But yeah, setting boundaries, rules, and consequences, they'll definitely appreciate you for that as they continue to grow. Be sure to listen and empathize as your child continues to grow. Of course, my son's a new toddler, and so he's learning words and things like that. But even while he's trying to formulate sentences and things, I'm still listening. I'm giving him my undivided attention. I'm talking to him as he's human. I'm talking to him. I'm engaging with him. All right. Another recommendation is going to be, eat meals together. If you can't do it as a family, then make sure that someone is spending time with your child and eating meals together. And then the last one, which I feel is so important, is being available and distraction free. So, whether it's going to be playing with them, whether you're reading a book to them, if you're talking, dancing, whatever it is, just make sure that you are not distracted by anything else. Turn off that TV, put down that cell phone, unless if you're recording a memorable moment for you all. Don't pick up the call during that time, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Whatever you can give where you're committing that time to your child, definitely take the time to do so. And again, I know we're speaking about children, but this can definitely go into other factors of your life as well, if you know what I'm saying. But lastly, I just want to say, mamas, we feel at times, speaking for myself, that we're faced with a lot. So be sure to make time amongst all of this to take some time out for self-care. Giving your child the space to grow, that's going to be important, and being sure to learn while also being available to help. All right. Now, keep in mind, your child is growing, so they will appreciate every effort that you're putting in for them, and that bond will continue to grow. Even if it changes, it will still continue to grow. And overall, they will begin to flourish as they continue to get older. So keep giving them direction, but being there for them, loving on them, spending that quality time with them, which is going to be very important and most important. And so, of course, before we end today's session, I do want to give an amazing quote of the day that I came across. I feel like it's so truthful. And so it says, to the mama who hasn't felt like herself lately, I know how difficult it is when you catch yourself not being you. But be patient. Your sparkle will return again and you will shine again. Now, this is by unknown. When I saw that, I was like, man, who is this? Who said this? Because it's so true. It's so amazing. It's so vital. You are valuable, mamas. All right? Always remember that. And so just keep going. Keep going. And y'all know I'm going to say it. Give yourself grace and just keep going. All right? But that is the time that we have today. I do want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to this episode as well as my other episodes. I do want to constantly remind you, be sure if you haven't done so yet, take time to subscribe. Be sure to like, follow, share, comment. I love to read you all's comments and I reply back as well. But when you subscribe, it will allow you to stay tuned to all my latest content that I provide. And so I want to make sure that you're able to keep up with me and knowing what's going on when I'm dropping new episodes. All right. Now, I do want you to be sure to tune in to the next episode. It kind of goes hand in hand with this one, as we will be discussing the balancing of bonding between multiple kids. Like I mentioned earlier, I've heard some different things when it comes to that dynamic. So I want to kind of discuss it a little bit further. And so I will definitely be having a guest joining in. So be sure to stay tuned just so you can hear all about that and her experience. I do also ask that she's going to be providing some recommendations too, because, eventually our son will soon one day, let me change that. One day we'll have a little brother or sister. And so again, if there's some helpful recommendations from her experience that she is able to share with us, I definitely welcome it. So I look forward to it on how to keep that relationship balanced. And so definitely stay tuned for it. But until next time, I want you to keep your head up, keeping in mind that your little one is watching you and constantly admiring you, and then continue to take care of yourself. I look forward to seeing you next time on I'm the Mama Podcast. It's your girl, Ashley L. See ya.